I was born in the States, but when I was 5, our parents moved us to Senegal, and that's where I spent my growing years. So I was there from 5 to 15, and I was on the continent of Africa for 10 years without ever leaving the continent. And then when I was 15, I went to the States, and New York City was the first place I saw when I got back, and it was completely culture shock because what I had remembered of the States as a child wasn't the reality that I faced as a teenager. And that's when I knew that, I wanted that Africa, Senegal, Ghana had become home. And so that's when I knew I eventually wanted to go back, and that's where my base would be. So I didn't know I would want to make chocolate at the time, but I started studying French and international studies, thinking that I would go into international development. And then after I graduated university, I was working in Switzerland for a nonprofit, and it was a great experience, very interesting experience, but there was something missing. There was something that I wasn't being fulfilled. So I knew I wanted to go back and start a business, but I wasn't sure what. So eventually I resigned, and I was doing all the touristy Switzerland stuff, and I went to go visit one of their major factories, Kaye, and that's when I realized that most of their beans, their cocoa, came from Ghana. And so that's when I asked myself, well, why the Swiss have great chocolate, but we don't? Why are the Swiss known for chocolate? They don't grow the cocoa trees, or have there are no farmers there, cocoa farmers, so how come their chocolate is better? So that's when I started getting more interested in chocolate and doing more research, and it became a hobby, and then it became something that I said, well, if the Swiss can do it, and so can Ghana. So that's how I came about on this chocolate journey.
And just to piggyback off of that, what happened was when she went on the factory, she started Googling places where we could learn how to make chocolate. And she stumbled upon a place in London. And she was like, we should take classes. And I was like, sure, why not? It would contribute to me knowing how to make chocolate pastries, because I've always been interested in going to pastry school, but that hasn't happened yet. I'm sure it'll happen eventually. And she was like, okay, we're going to go to London. She paid for both the courses, so she was very adamant on us getting there. We got to London. We spent, I think, 3 days?
Yeah, we spent 3 days.
3 days in the middle of nowhere. We weren't really sure where we were going, but it was a great experience. We learned everything there was to know about chocolate, tempering it, doing confections, molding it, decorating it, coloring it. It was a very worthwhile course.
Yeah. It was fun, and it was messy. That's when we realized how messy working with chocolate was, but it was a fun 3 days. So it just confirmed our interest, so we continued pursuing. So we moved back to Ghana in 2014, and 57 officially started in 2016, so that speaks volumes. It's a big 2-year gap. And that just goes to show that it wasn't an easy road as expected. So initially what happened was, upon moving back to Ghana, I started visiting places. We went to cocoa farms in the western region, and then also in the eastern region we visited the Cocoa College and also the Cocoa Research Institute. And it was really about talking to people, and we talked to some of the buying companies. We went to Cocoa Board as well. But funny enough, a lot of the places we visited and made our inquiries to didn't think that it could necessarily be possible to make chocolate on a small scale. So there were quite a few roadblocks to starting. And so in the meantime, I continued doing my research. I continued speaking to farmers, just understanding how cocoa works, how it's grown, the whole process from, literally tree to bar. So that includes, harvesting the cocoa, fermenting it, drying it. So yeah, and then eventually I took an online course to understand more about making chocolate from bean to bar, because actually the first training we had was working with already made chocolate. So it was very essential, but we didn't learn how to make it from bean to bar. So it was sort of educating ourselves for those 2 years and understanding what machinery you would need, understanding all the logistics.
And then just to go off of that, so Kim did most of her training in Europe, and I was still here in Ghana working for a nonprofit. And what she did was the knowledge that I didn't have, taking it from bean to bar, she transferred that knowledge onto me. So I've been her apprentice literally in this endeavor.
Close chef. Oh, I didn't. I mean, basically, I had to ask questions. I would, basically when I was talking to people, I would tell them what I was trying to do. And a lot of people ended up referring me to people or to sites or to organizations to speak to. I also used Google, which was a handy tool. Granted, not all the information that I needed I could easily find, but it was a matter of, I went to people, whether in Europe or in the States. I did a lot of emailing actually to speak to people in the field of chocolate to see if they had any tips or could share any information with me or show me where to go. And I would say that's how I got a lot of my information, is through speaking to people who were in the field. Mm-hmm. So basically, after I took an online course for bean to bar making, which was really useful, but I still wanted the practical side of it. After my online course in bean to bar making, I met someone who introduced me to a man in Switzerland who owned a chocolate factory, and that man decided to graciously take me on as an intern. And so I spent 3 weeks there. And at the time when I was planning this trip, I knew that the London Chocolate Show would be happening around October. So I thought it would be cool if somehow I was able to get another chocolate maker in London, to take me on as an apprentice and to teach me what they know. So I decided to email a whole bunch of people. I emailed maybe 50-something makers or so, or give or take, and I heard roughly about literally 99% no's. And a lot of them were very polite no's, but it was still very discouraging. So then I think it was maybe, I don't know what order they were in, but I emailed a couple in London, and when I got their email, I was half expecting another no, so I was just quickly going to glance over it and delete. And so then that's when they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you, and you can stay with us, and we'd be happy to teach you what we know. And what was very nice about that situation is that they informed me that one of the main reasons that they took me on is because there was this chocolate maker. Sorry, I'm jumping around. His name was Mott Green. Sadly, he passed away a few years back. But he was an American who opened a chocolate factory in Grenada, the Grenada Chocolate Factory or Company. And his dream was to have this whole network of chocolate makers, especially in the growing countries. And so they had heard his story, and that's what got them into chocolate. So then they thought, they would continue the chain and help someone else in a growing country to also be able to make chocolate. It was funny that you mentioned it. It was actually a song that I listened to, and it's about faith. And it says, a part of it says that in order for a door to be open, many have to close. Okay. So that's what I told myself. I was telling myself, well, if all these doors are closing, then that means eventually the right one will open for me. And I was right. Like, the way everything worked out from my training to Switzerland to London, it was clockwork. So I just kept on knocking till the right door opened.
That's actually, I mean, that's a really hard question because I feel like from the get-go it had always been, just because our parents were very involved. Our parents are very entrepreneurial oriented.
Okay.
So right from the get-go, when we were visiting these cocoa farms, they were right there with us. But I think what took it to the next level was when the product was developed. When we created a product that we really liked, that we tasted, and that we gave to other people, and they approved and actually recommended to their friends.
I think we felt that, one of the reasons why we work well together is I'm a perfectionist. Not that she doesn't like nice things.
But she's right.
I'm a perfectionist, and she's not.
I like it when things get done.
Yeah.
I don't like to dilly-dally. If there's work, then it has to be done. That's how I...
Yeah. So, and she's also very industrious. So, with me, when it came to, like, I constantly have to fight my perfectionistic tendencies, because if it were up to me, I would still be refining the recipe to get it perfect, to get it just the way I like it. But with Priscilla and also with my dad, they have that sort of, okay, things can't be perfect. It's good enough, so ready to go. So I think it came more from Priscilla and my dad that they were like, okay, you do have a solid product. It doesn't have to be, perfect to start getting it out there. So I think that's when we decided.
As if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you started to it. So.
Yeah, it's true. There you go.
Well, I think for me, I tend to be a problem solver.
Okay.
If there's a problem, then I try and figure out the best way possible to do it. And if I don't know how to do it, then I take it as a challenge. I like challenges. I don't know, I guess it kind of excites me. I don't know if that's weird. But if then I don't know how to do something, then I'll inquire. I'll ask people who've done it before and hopefully get their guidance and then take it from there and do it. But my background is somewhat similar to hers. Studied French and international development, the usual. But the difference between her and I is that I was born on the continent. And because of our background, although we've lived together somewhat most of our lives, we've led very different experiences just from the moving around. For example, although I was born on the continent, she lived on the continent longer. So I would say I lived mostly in Europe, in the States, and somewhat in Africa. And there's a long list.
There's a very long list. I would say one of the main challenges was actually the amount of people who said it was impossible. But actually, I use that sort of as a fuel for my engine. And people may wonder if this is healthy or not, but I've kept a list of names of people who said, it wouldn't work, or that it's not going to work, or you can't do it. And when we launch in 2017 officially, they're going to be at the launch. I'm going to personally invite them to show them that it was possible. So I would say that was one of the challenges.
For me, on the business side of things, it's been working with service providers, because at least here in Ghana, I've realized that people have a tendency, when they're providing you with a service and they say they're going to get it to you by a certain date, they go radio silent. There's no communication with them. And my background is in communication, and communication is just so important to me. And I always tell them, I'm like, look, if you're working with somebody and you can't get them something by the date you specify, just let them know. Simple text, hey, sorry, things have come up, give me a few more days. People would be more understanding. But what tends to happen is for example, if you're waiting on an illustration, you won't hear from somebody for almost 2 weeks. So that's been quite challenging.
Yeah, that's been, yeah.
And of course the usual, you have electricity,
Yeah.
Storing the chocolate, sometimes it's the heat, it's terrible with the heat.
Yeah.
Also just like
Getting information.
Yeah.
In general, like it was hard to get all the information we needed to start this business, or even, you know, I find it quite sad that most of my training was outside of Ghana. And that's actually something that I hope to change in the future, you know, as we grow, that people who want to know more about chocolate on the continent don't have to look to Europe or the States to get training or to get an understanding of what it takes to make chocolate. So it's the Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Program, and I actually found out about it a year ago. That's when it first launched. It was our dad who sent us the article on it, and I initially thought I wanted to apply last year, but then I realized that I was nowhere near ready to apply for it. So I told myself that I would wait till this year to apply, and that hopefully by then I would be ready. And so yeah, we got it. Yeah, but that's the only one. Oh, I actually really liked their application because they format it almost as if you're writing your business plan. So it's almost like your business plan, the kind of questions they ask in the application, it's like you're writing your business plan. So they ask you about your market research, they ask you, you know, what your company does or what your idea is. So I enjoyed the process because it got me thinking, and it actually helped to center our focus on, you know, what the business's vision is exactly.
So our official first sale was for a wedding for about 320 people.
Okay.
That one was super cool because our brother-in-law sort of facilitated that transaction. He got wind of what we were doing and really believed in our product, and he was like, I know someone who's gonna have a wedding and they're gonna need favors, let's do this. So we contacted the person, they were very interested, and we ended up making 320 boxes of chocolates, 2 samples each. It was pretty cool because we planned out the whole thing. There was a schedule we followed. Although I am a co-founder, I also work full-time. So what would happen is she would make chocolates during the week, and then on the weekends we'd mold the chocolates, decorate them, and then we'd put them in boxes, and it was a process.
Yeah.
But we learned a lot
Yeah.
from the first sale. It was cool. We learned that you definitely have to plan. Planning is is very important. And that day was actually literally our soft launch. We didn't really decide that we were going to sort of launch it, at least through social media and website, but we thought it was the perfect opportunity to do that. So we learned that there's really no better time than now. Just go for it. Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
But
not
now
so
it's
much in
fun. business.
The thing is, she likes to get on my nerves deliberately.
Okay.
Deliberately. So
Okay.
she knows what ticks me off, and
Yes.
she'll tick me off on purpose.
Okay. And does that make you more productive?
Yes.
It
It does. It does. It makes her less of a perfectionist. It makes her. I think I sort of bring her over to my side to get things done, because she knows that I'm bothering her, so she needs to do it.
Okay.
So she gets things done faster when I do it. But I do it in a playful manner. She knows I'm not being serious. But before we launched this business, I made everybody in my family associated with this business take a personality test, just so that we could get to know each other better and understand what makes people tick, what makes people productive. And it turns out that we are completely different as day and night.
I'm an idealist, in case you haven't noticed. I dream and I dream big.
She does, and she often spends too much time dreaming. Whereas I'm a realist.
You don't dream enough.
It's all about perspective. But yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good balance. Like, I give her some of my dreamy nature, and she gives me, and then when I need to be brought back to earth, she can also bring me back to earth.
Mm-hmm. And something I've noticed that I think is very important when talking to other entrepreneurs, just about what we're doing, and a lot of them that I've spoke to, they really like the idea that we're co-founders and that there's two of us.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking to one guy, and he's sort of leading his business from Ghana, but he has a business partner in the States, and at times he feels like he's actually working the business alone because his partner isn't physically with him. But from what I've seen and from my experience, working together in a team of two, it works.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also seen that with different entrepreneurship models in Ghana. For example, startups. We actually visited one startup in East Legon.
It's an accelerator.
It's accelerator, and their rule to enter into the accelerator, you have to be in a team of two. It needs to be two co-founders, and from that I understand why it's really important that there's two people.
Okay, so the meaning behind the name 57 is that 57 is short for 1957.
Okay.
And so when we were starting this business, I know some people say names don't matter, but we wanted to have, but then again, you know, a strong name gives you a little extra. Like, let me fact check here. Like, for example, we have a dog and his name is Spartacus. Maybe you should. Let me go back. Actually, I was thinking of one.
What? Spartacus.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
So, and his name is Spartacus, and he actually really does take after his name,
Yeah.
in the sense that, you know, he's strong. He is
Aggressive.
a fighter, aggressive, but
Gives everybody.
yeah, gives everybody, you know, like he and he's not even that big. He's a medium-sized dog.
Actually, rather small.
Yeah, if you look at him, you'll think he's still a puppy, but he's not. But he's a natural-born leader. There's a German Shepherd here who's significantly larger than him, but Spartacus leads the German Shepherd, who's also older. So there's something about a name that gives you that little extra. So anyways, 57 is short for 1957, and we gave it that name because 1957 was the year of independence naturally, but it was also the year that Ghana began to see manufacturing and industries. And for example, with Kwame Nkrumah, you had different things going on that actually some don't even exist now. Like for example, you had the Black Star shipping lines, and Ghanaians were doing stuff on their own. There was a can-do spirit that was in 1957. So we wanted to recreate that through our business. And essentially, it's about chocolate, but then it's also not about chocolate. It's about more than chocolate in the sense that it's about adding value to something, to a resource found in our country, ourselves, at home. There's a lot of, if you go to grocery stores in Ghana, speaking to chocolate, you'll see Cadbury's, you'll see Hershey's, Snickers, and all of that. And then you see Golden Tree in a sea of foreign chocolates. And
sometimes you don't even see Golden Tree.
Sometimes you don't even see Golden Tree. And that's a problem. Why can't Ghanaians produce and consume their own products? And why can't our products also be in other markets or be seen as high quality or wanted in other markets? And so that's it in a nutshell.
Yep. I mean, we definitely want it to last past our lifetime. We want it to be here longer than we live on this earth, for sure. But also, we hope it's a source of inspiration for others who are looking to either come back and settle and get to know their home country and start something for themselves, or whether it's people who are living here, have been living here, and feel like the 9 to 5 isn't for them, or feel like they have something to contribute to society that they haven't, or they've been wanting to and haven't done so already.
And sorry, I just want to add to that. And at the same time, we also want to make a chocolate that is uniquely Ghanaian in both taste and appearance, in the sense that we want to pair chocolate with art and let our chocolate be a reflection of and celebration of Ghanaian art, because there's so much art, culture, there's so much vibrancy in this country. Is vibrancy a word?
Vibrancy, I think so.
Yeah, there's so many vibrant things in this country that we take for granted, and that we don't necessarily see because maybe it becomes our mundane. But it's about celebrating who we are as a people.
And you'll definitely see this when we reveal our chocolates. We have great artists that we've been working with, so stay tuned for that.
We have a lot of fun stuff coming up.
Yeah. I think for me, since I'm working full time on the weekdays, but I come back home after work and I work on 57. I tend to think of it as a full-time job, like even when I'm at work. Don't tell them this. I'll be sitting at my desk doing stuff for 57 too, but I'm also focused on what I'm doing for my full-time job. But at least for me, right now I'm sort of handling the marketing and website and social media aspects of it, so it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're able to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever she can't do, I'll take on. If I can't take on something, she'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
We just sort of pick up each other's slack,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been working.
I would say never stop learning and always be curious. Because when you're curious about things, you want to know more about it, and that leads you to asking the right questions or talking to people about it. and you never know who you're going to talk to, who's going to lead you to someone else who may lead you to this or lead you to that. Yeah.
I would also contribute knowing the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, we've lived around in different countries, and you know, Ghana we had never really lived in before, so we had to understand the way people work, the way people think, the way things are done, and at least from our experiences, we've known that you shouldn't only rely on one person.
Mm-hmm.
You should have multiple people that you work with. For example, if you have an illustrator, make sure you have 5.
Yeah.
Because just know that there's always other options. Like, don't have somebody be your excuse not to excel forward.
Right.
That's what we've seen.
Yeah.
Don't let somebody stop you from getting what you need to do done.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a doer, so.
Yeah. And always be willing to adapt, because things will not always work out, you know. And just because your first attempt, it took us a while to actually get a recipe, to actually, for a while, like, our chocolate would start melting 5 minutes after. Not even less than that, like, within 2 seconds, it would be liquid.
Yeah, you would hold it in your hand and it would just melt, and you're like,
yeah, and that could have been, I mean, sometimes it was very discouraging, because I was like, well, how are we going to get this product to people, you know, in a solid form? But lo and behold, not melted, and it's not that cold in this room. And it took a while for us to get to that stage. So, you know, if your plan A doesn't work, then go to plan B. If that doesn't work, C. Use all the letters of the alphabet, and then go on to using codes of those letters, and then go to the numbers till you find your solution. Because there's always a solution.
and if you have a problem, I recommend talking to people about it.
Mhm.
Just because you don't know who could have the answer. You could be just so busy throughout your day getting the things that you need to do done, and then once you talk to somebody about a problem, they could just easily give it to you like that.
Yep.
So definitely talk to people about your successes and your challenges.
Yep. And make sure when you're talking to people about what you want to do, make sure you always take it with a grain of salt as well. And you'll know when to do this, because, for example, had we listened to all the people who said it was impossible, then we probably wouldn't be here right now. So always, listen, but take it with a grain of salt, and always, you know, go with your inner instinct and continue to ask questions. Yeah.
I would say, why didn't we do this sooner? I would literally tell us, why didn't we do this sooner? But I think it's fear.
Yeah, I would tell myself, or tell us, yeah, I would go back to something along those lines of, in the discouraging moments, I would tell myself, look, you know, it's okay to get discouraged, but, you know, don't wallow in it for too long. You know, maybe take it for a second, but then quickly snap out of it, because the amount of discouragement or discouraging moments that we went through, or that even I went through personally, I would tell myself, snap out of it quickly, because we probably could have gotten here sooner without those, or without wallowing in it, for example. So always pick yourself back up quickly. Rub some dirt in it. I would also tell myself, document everything, in the sense that for example, at least in terms of manufacturing, like in the initial stages, it took me a while to like really get into the swing of documenting things, but when you document things, you're able to, you know, adjust quickly, and you're able to, for example, if you did something really great, to be able to recreate that and you didn't document, then you miss out on something really good because you might not be able to recreate it again. So document everything and enjoy it, even the hard stuff.
I couldn't stress that last point enough. Documenting things is so important, because there's times where we've created things just generally in life, like cooking, and it's been like literally the best thing you've ever tasted. And I think we all get a little bit pompous. We're like, oh yeah, we know what went into it. And then you do it 2 days later and you're just like, you have no clue how much you put into it, what went into it. So it is definitely important to document, write down, journal, keep it safe.
Enjoy the relationships, because you know, granted, you maintain those relationships, but even at those trainings that I've been to, I've met some amazing people. So to just really savor building those relationships with people, and I actually still am able to go back to those people and get advice and, you know, update each other, etc. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much.